Hey everybody, Elliot here for Prismata. Today I wanted to provide a quick update on some of the changes that we put in recently, and in particular I want to solicit feedback on some of those changes because I want to know how players are feeling about them. To give you an update of where we are right now, for the Steam Early Access launch, things are pretty much feature complete. Everything that's in the game that's going to be in there for the launch is in. The first two chapters of campaign missions, they're more or less done, although some of them in more of a draft form that we're still iterating on and working on. And if you've seen the last patch and the set of patch notes, you'll notice that there's a whole lot of just minor tweaks, little graphical things, little behavior changes, things like that. And that's kind of the stage we're at, where we're trying to really perfect the user experience of the game. We see a lot of people play the game for the first time, and we observe sort of the mistakes that they're making or the setbacks they have or the things that are giving them troubles, and we're trying to put in things to correct that. And also just, you know, we watch people play on stream, and we watch people, especially new players, play the game on stream, and we learn things from their experiences that we incorporate into the game to improve the design and you know, the onboarding experience, new user experience in general. So that's kind of where we're at. People always ask, when's the game going to go on Steam? The answer is when it's ready. It's definitely going to be after the Steam summer sale. I always tell people that because we don't want to be competing with that. Sometimes there's like 10 big indie games that all go online immediately after the summer sale because that's sort of their window, and we probably want to go later than that. And sound is coming along too. But let me talk about some of the specific changes, and in particular the graphical ones that we're seeking feedback on. So let me just start a basic bot game here. So one of the more striking things you'll notice is we now have this split battlefield with blue on one side, red on the other. Player 1 is blue, player 2 is red. The card backs themselves have both been changed in design, and one side is also red. So we kind of wanted to go for a more minimal, simplified look with the card backs, just to kind of avoid them looking too cartoony. One of the issues with Prismata is when we were originally trying to design the style of the art on the cards, we just wanted whatever played the best. And we tried, you know, full background card art, like something like Magic the Gathering. We tried photorealistic art. We tried really cartoony things. We tried actually a set of arts for the units that were just symbols. Like the drone was sort of like an icon almost for the drone. And all of these things had their own strengths and weaknesses, but one of the things we really cared about is recognizability of different units on the battlefield. And Prismata is a game where you can have 100 units on the battlefield, and there's really no other, at least, you know, card-based, turn-based strategy game that has that level of visual complexity that we need to communicate. So our challenge was to try and keep things very simple, and that's why we went for sort of this iconic, somewhat cartoony style for the card art. It was because when we were testing it, it just played the best. Now, some folks think that it's a little bit too cartoony and it's off-putting to them. That's fine. We can't please everybody. Some people really like the art. That's good too. And we're not going to be changing the individual unit art. But what we are trying to do at the same time is make the game screen overall just kind of a smoother, more inviting experience, and we feel that the colors help. We actually had a lot of players play the game for the first time and not realize that their stuff is on the bottom and their opponent's stuff on top. You know, maybe that's obvious if you play Hearthstone or Magic Online or something like that, but to many players who are not familiar with those genres, that convention is actually foreign to them. So having the blue on one side and red on the other immediately communicates that and helps with the sort of pedagogical aspects for first-time players a lot. That's the same reason we added this canceled thing. I mean, some players said, like, oh, it says canceled every time you unbuy something. That's so, like, annoying. Like, oh, look at that ugly row of canceled. But actually, we see new players do this all the time. They go, what do I want to buy? Okay, I'll get a steel splitter and a drone, and I'll click my steel splitter. Oh, what happened? I don't know what happened. Well, whatever, I got to buy stuff. So let's buy a steel splitter. Oh, and then let's click it. And they literally don't even realize that they're selling the unit. They think that they clicked it and it like got activated, and then they go to buy it again. And it like repeats in a loop for 10 times until they realize that the click is unbuy. But that's actually surprisingly non-obvious to people. So adding this canceled was like absolutely fundamentally necessary. And, you know, there may be future changes like that as we do more and more user testing on the early missions. We try to keep a lot of the in-game tutorial things to those early missions so that they're not polluting sort of the rest of competitive Prismata. But we feel that even like when people are watching a stream for the first time and somebody unbuys a unit, they don't even realize that undo is a thing, right? Because a lot of other card games don't have undo. So that's why we added the canceled animation. And I don't know, we find that it's helping in our testing, but we'll have to see. The main thing I really want feedback on is this new look and feel of the backgrounds, and in particular, the red and blue tints of the cards. Like you notice even the Blast Forge, this one is kind of red tinted, and these card backs are slightly blue tinted. The grays are no longer neutral. And the Blast Forge kind of fades into the background a little more, but you still get the sense of a square area that you can click on if you wanted to, I don't know, unbuy the unit, or I guess the back row units are usually not clickable, but if you could activate them, you can see. So anyways, and like we spent a lot of time tweaking, you know, how bright should the like white outline around the outside of this be? You know, we had the slider in Photoshop and we're trying to get everything just right. So if anybody out there has any feedback on that, and I don't care whether you're a designer or you're just like somebody who plays the game and your feedback is, I don't like the colors, or I really like the colors, we want to hear about it. You know, especially if you play the game a lot on the ladder and the colors give you a headache, let us know. If you think the colors look really awesome and they make you super happy when you're playing Prismata, tell us that too. We want to know. Let me mention one other new feature, which is kind of cool. There is now a favorite replays. Where are we? Here. There's now a favorite replays, which I don't have any of at the moment on this test account. But if I take this replay, you can now click the star and favorite it. And then you go into your favorite replays and it's there and you can watch it and all that stuff. And actually at the end of a game, when you win or lose on the game over screen, you can favorite it, the game from there. So there's actually like a star here. And if you click that, it gets added to your favorites. That's been a much requested feature. And the reason we added it's actually because our server guy was kind of running out of things to do. Like, you know, most of the work that remains is sort of on the missions. And he told me that based on some previous work he did cleaning up the way replays are stored and some other related things, that this feature would actually be really easy to implement. And he did it in like a day. So we now have favorite replays. And he's actually going on vacation for the next couple of weeks. And the rest of the team is sort of going to get the missions and the client all polished up for the launch. That's kind of the plan. And then he's coming back, and you know, the launch will necessitate a whole bunch of other server, not necessarily work. The work's testing mostly been done, but you know, we're going to have to keep an eye on things and monitor things and start up and shut down new nodes as necessary, depending on the overall level of traffic. And we're going to be sending out waves of beta invites, and we're going to be sending out probably tens of thousands of keys. Yeah, it's going to be an exciting time. But that's where we're at. Is there anything else I wanted to talk about? I mean, we changed a bunch of other things. In-game error messages are a little different. Loading screens are a little different. Just minor little graphical adjustments and adjustments of wording and things to clean up the experience, especially for new players. You know, if you have any suggestions, if you had like a friend who played the game for the first time and they had a negative experience or something that you think would have helped them, send them over to us. I mean, we're always watching streams of new players. We're actually user testing with people who've never played the game before, and even people who never play strategy games at all. We just give them Prismata, let them play through the first couple of missions and see how they do and what they enjoy. And that's kind of the iteration cycle we're in, and we have been in for, well, what feels like years, but now more and more feeling like we're closer to the end. So that's where we're at. That's your update. There will be more updates like this in the future. We're going to get back to doing regular streaming of the game, especially as we approach the Steam Early Access launch. There will be more news about other new stuff. There will be a deploy that contains the sound effects when we feel they're up to snuff, and they're getting there. Our sound guys sort of working pretty hard on it for the next couple of weeks, and we're completing one more milestone there, and then that's going to be good to go. So, yeah, I think that's about it. Y'all have a good one, and I'll catch you in the next video.